Oy Zayin again. Let's get the flow. Oy Zayin. So Oy Zayin. Oy Zayin. So all the tremendous avodas described till now, the yichud of das Elyon and das Tachten, and the progression from das Tachten to das Elyon, as reflected in Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, and then Hashem Echad, and the Ava that's engendered by that, and the neutralization of the foreign loves and midas, represented by the 7 umos. So that's the avoda for that, in order to neutralize and even transform the 7 umos. But when dealing with Amalek, the core essence of Klippa, that's not enough. So and then begins the avoda of the second parsha of the Shema, which introduces the inyan of avoda, the word la'avdai, eved. And it seems from the flow of the Maamer and from the order of things that, in other words, we're talking about a ben who is an eved, a ben who loves his father. In fact, that's the quote from the Zohar, that there is a child that serves his father for himself, for the child's benefit, and then the child who serves his father for his father's glory. And that's what we speak of. So it's a ben who is an eved. So in addition to the avodah and building on the avodah of love and appreciation and understanding, then comes the avodah of Kabbalah soil. And he said, actually, we're not going to start from the beginning because we're going to go further. He said that if the avodah is only the avodah of ben, of love, then something which doesn't make sense to the person, intellectually, emotionally, doesn't fit with his rotzen, his tainug, and certainly something which he hates, he just can't bring himself to do. Whereas the avodah of the eved was no metzias for himself, then he'll do even something which he doesn't have it to Ellis. Now, something which he hates, can we really say that there's something we hate? The answer is on a subtle level, yeah. On a subtle level, yeah. You know, you're learning at Rambam and you look at, oh my goodness, how long did 3 prakim are today, whatever it is. Yeah. That's, and there is a little, that's a subtle level of sin, my friends. Strong word, but it's, I hate this, but I'm doing it. I wish it was smaller, I wish it was easier. So that hergish, the Eved has no, well, the truth is the Eved might have that hergish, but you'll do it anyway. So the key is a ben and an Eved, everything. There's a line here now, V'zuhi mailis Eved nem. So right after saying that something which a person, it doesn't resonate with him, we don't have enough Maamorim. We made 10 copies. So if the avodah is only ben, it's only love, etc. If it doesn't resonate, it's difficult to do it. If he hates it, he just can't bring himself to do it. And if he does, it's kicking and screaming. But like 10 lines down from Zion. He'll do something that he has no benefit from, no gain. He doesn't see the point, in other words. And not he doesn't see the point, but okay, but he'll even do something which he hates. Zui Milas Eved Neman, and this is the mile of the Eved Neman, it's the avodah of Parsha Shniya. Like we said, Bra son Dishtadl Basaravur, who tries, who does for his father, La begin Yikara, not for his own glory, El begin Yikara Davur, because of the glory of his father. Why? Liyosi Etzem Echad in Metzias Av, because. So what he's saying now is, we just finished saying, the Avodah of Eved obviously is separate. But for the Eved to be an Eved Neman, Mamish, okay, the Rebbe says he could be an Eved Neman and do everything, muttering under his breath and hating it and doing everything. Because at the end of the day, he's got the fear of the master over him. He'll do it, even that which he hates. He has no choice. But we're not talking, we're saying that the Ben has to be an Eved. The Ben has to be an Eved, and so the Ben's motivation at the end of the day is because he's etzem echad in Metzias ha'av. He's one thing with the father, a son, a child is the thigh, the extension of the father. That was pointing to the fact that Neshama is a part of the Eibishter. But the Eved also has that, kind of milamata l'mayla. The Eved, the whole Metzias of the Eved is the Metzias of Adon. If he finds something, he belongs to the master. It's not transferred. He's an extension of the master. So yeah, there's obviously a difference between that extension and the extension of the Ben. The basic difference is that the Ben, it is mitzad the father. It starts from the father's choice. They wish to all of machshava, they wish to give rise to neshamas Yisrael. So the Eved, first of all, a person could sell himself. There is room for the choice of the Eved. And an Eved can also redeem himself. He's not forever. Avodah l'olam is still yovel. It's not forever. So the Maila is a Ben Shu Eved. But there's going to be a line over here coming now. The Nimtza Shina Kabbalah's oil. And now he's saying, so this is like a little bit of a new word here. Because we just established we're talking about a Ben that he's an Eved. That's the flow. Things are going from Pasha to Shoni to Pasha Shniya, right? And he just finished now saying that there's Etzem Echad with the father. Bro, Koda Davua. And now he says, it comes out to the Kabbalah's oil, the Darga Chitachtoina. It comes out that even the lowest level of Kabbalah's oil, Eitzel Eved, Shebefkeda Nichalei, the lowest level of Eved, not to be spoke before, not Eved Neman. This is not Eved Neman. Eved Neman is like the Ben Sho Eved. He's saying it comes out that since the end of the day, Kabbalah's oil, and even the lowest level of Eved, Shebefkeda Nichalei, you said earlier, we're not talking about that level because that guy has no seichel. He doesn't, his mind is there, his heart's not there, his heart is not there, his tanik's not there. Right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about an Eved who's engaged with all of his tanik, with all of his koiches. In other words, Ben Sho Eved. Nonetheless, the Eved component of all of this, which is Kabbalah's oil, exists in the lowest level of Eved. And yesh by Maila Gamal Aveda Me'av. The lowest level of Eved. He's not holding the Parsha D'Shayna at all. And he's only holding by Ema Sa'adan, the fear of the master. At the end of the day, he's the boss. What are you going to do? So this has a mile on the Avodah of Ava. And that's because you'll do something that you don't want to do. Whereas when it's Avodah Mi'ava, you can't bring yourself to do it. If it doesn't make sense to you. If the whole thing is a loving relationship and a relationship that you appreciate, etc. Clear? Taka talking about Eved Neman, but bringing out the mile of Eved Neman is the Kabbalah's oil. That exists. That Nakud is there, even the lowest level of Eved. Even the Eved, the Befkir and Nichalei, that he's completely emotionally elsewhere and he's resisting, and he's like the ox with a yoke on him. That's the only reason he's plowing the field. Remove the yoke, he's gone. And if the master's not looking, he runs away. Except we know he doesn't know where to run. So we're not running away. Where are you going to run? You can run, but you can't hide. So the Indian says, so the mile of what? Of the Avodah of Kabbalah's oil, Nirmis Bedalad Oiseh Shem Havaya, is expressed in the four Oishes of Shem Havaya, Shebem is Bata Klolos Yin Avodas Adam, in the four letters of Shem Havaya, is expressed in general, the whole Avodah of a person. K'moshe Kosov, Torah gives us Torah, Har Sinai says, Anoichi Havaya Likecha, which means that what do I want? That Havaya be Likecha. Shavaya Nasa Kechacha V'Chayisach. That the union of Havaya should be something that you live with, internalize your Koyach and your Chayis. So now he's going to explain how the four Oisias of Yud Kei Vav Kei is the whole Avodah of a Yid The whole purpose of Torah mitzvahs, as he goes to explain now. So in Avodas Adam is the 4 letters of Shem Havaya in that order. Shinyonim, who are going from the highest to the lowest. The Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. So Tchilo means awe. There's Yira Ilah, the higher level of awe or fear of awe. Rechimu is Av, is love, the higher level of love. That is the Hey. Then comes the Vav, the lower level of Rechimu again, the lower level, it's called Avazuta, Avarab, Avazuta, the great love, the small love. And finally, the lowest level of fear. That's the final Hey. This is hinted to in which pasuk in Chumash? Tell this Yitzchak ben Avraham, Haile des Yitzchak. The whole thing there is Teresa tell us that Yitzchak says Avraham's son, Avram gave birth to Yitzchak. So there's all kinds of answers starting with Rashi. But the Zohar's answer is this, that these Vela tell us Yitzchak ben Avram, Haile des Yitzchak. These are the 4 letters. Yitzchak, the first Yitzchak is Yiri Ilah. The first mention of Avram is Avarabba. The second one is Avazuta. And the final one is Yiratata, or the other way, actually. The other way, the Zerd goes the other way. From the lower level of fear to the lower level of love, the higher level of love, and then the higher level of fear. It's actually going from the Hey to the Vav to the Hey to the Yud. But here we spelled it out going down. Because we're talking about Isis Yud Ke Vav Ke. So he touches out now here. Shinyonim. V'hainu she'oisius Yud Ke. So the first 2 letters, Yud Ke, Hem Yiri Ilah V'Avarabba. That's the higher awe and the great love of Hashem. V'oisius Vav Ke, the latter 2 letters, they're 2 different divisions. Yud Ke is a name unto itself. So V'oisius Vav Ke, Hem Avazuta V'Yirazuta, the lower love and the small love, literally. V'Yiratata, and the lower love. Tzarech Iyun, but not for now. Why the language changes? We call it a small love, not a lower love. The Yid is not called small, it's called lower. Yesh Leim, as we're going to say now, it's not small. The lower Yira is the Nakud of Kabbalah Soil. It's a lower level, but it's not small. The Nakud Atzmis is there. So that's why it doesn't describe it as small, but just lower. Whereas the lower love is a flame lower. Yes, a bigger rapturous love, and then it's a small love. I didn't see it anywhere, but perhaps we could suggest that. Anyway, so the last level, the last hey, the latter one is yidatata, is the lower love. In general, the lower love is the fear of punishment, the fear of the master, the fear of not being rewarded, the fear of punishment. It's extremely and exclusively self-serving. I'm just afraid. So that's what comes at the end. Even though it's lower than Vav, that Vav is already 6, the 6 midas. I love, it's the small love because it's primarily emotional, not directed so much by the objective truth of it all, which is the higher love, which is the Hey Ilah, Bina, where the love is, I love you because of you. This is why I love you, because this fills me. I love you because the way you make me feel. I mean, to use extreme language, but that's the different love. In other words, I love you. What's the emphasis? I love you or I love you? The world doesn't know from any other love.
Can a yid even have an avatar with some type of selfishness? Is there even room for that?
Is there room for that?
No, I'm saying, of course, they tame even avatata. That's what I'm saying.
Avazuta.
Avazuta, it must mean we're getting rid of that in you.
Rid of what?
Rid of the selfishness, because where's the room for Avos Hashem?
What we're getting rid of is foreign loves. Now my Geschmack is in Yiddishkeit. So it's a transfer of what of values, of meaning, what brings me pleasure, what I love, but still the self. So, but the lowest sphere is Kabbalah Soil. So again, so even though that the last hey, it's lower than the Vav, which is Avazuta, the lower love. Avatata, he calls it Avatata too. small and lower. You have to see where the market of the. At any rate, here comes the big chiddush. That hey, the last hey is, even though it comes at the end, but it's bound up in its source, in its root and its source, and it ascends magas ad la'isiyut. The last hey is rooted and connected to the very first letter isiyut. And what's the first letter? Shu'inyan yiri ilah. The higher awe. The higher awe is not a question of punishment. I'm afraid of punishment. It's almost a sense of, it's called sometimes Reishis, which means the awe of shame. What's the shame? Just the shame of any sense of independence in the face of Hashem's truth. Anything other than you is embarrassing. So that's Yiri Ilah, Yidas Boishes, Yiri Ilah. So he's saying, and that's Bittel, Yud is Bittel, it's in the Kudah, that the lower Hey is connected with the Yud. Shalamayla, Leidak Ma'isvav, Kabbalah's Earl takes us beyond not just the letter Vav, Elagamba Hey Rishona, even beyond the first Hey. Shinyan Avara, but this rapturous love. Kabbalah's Earl takes us deeper. In other words, Malchus, which is Kabbalah's Earl, Malchus is Maisa B'Poel. So Malchus is rooted in Pnimis Abba, Pnimis Atik. Spelling it out now. Even though we start from the bottom, it's Kabbalah's Earl, accepting the yoke. But this is the gateway to the most supernal level, says the Zohar. What is the lower fear? Even though it's a lower fear, why is that? Let him explains. The lower fear is very selfish. It's just as selfish, surely, or more selfish than the higher love. The higher love is, as we just pointed out, his Gishmak is not in Gashmias and not, it's in Ruchnias, it's in the Likus. And as he said before, his Gishmak is in seeing the effect on the world. He's motivated to do the Avodah, Shlichus, everything, because he's being Bamshech Likus, Moedidik level. We're saying that the lowest level of Kabbalah Sale has a mile over that. What's the lowest of Kabbalah Sale? He's afraid of the master. He's completely selfish. So how could it be? How could it be? This is the gateway to the highest levels. The answer is because at the end of the day, that even the lowest level of fear is not me. You're doing something you don't want to do. There's this the good of breaking yourself, kicking and screaming, and he's resistant. But what are you doing here? You're doing something that if you had your druthers, you would not be doing it, and you're doing it anyway. So that is, in a way, more God, more present there than the greatest motivation of love. But the whole relationship is defined by my love for you, my appreciation. I bought into this with heart and soul, and it's my passion and my life, and dedicated to it. It's beautiful. But we look at the person, what are we seeing? We're seeing you, we cuss it. When you look at the Eved, who hates this and doesn't want to do it and does it, and what is he doing? We see the master. I don't see you there because you don't want to do this. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Question, yeah?
The motivation is self-directed, and that fears einish at the end of the day. So I'm doing it because of myself still, right? My intrinsic motivation is for me, for my own benefit.
Yeah. But therein lies the mileage of Adamo. Because if there wouldn't be a punishment, would you do it? You wouldn't do it. The guy holding by the highest level of Ava, and we tell him, do this, it's not going to be a reward for it. Will he still do it? He'll still do it. He's motivated, the ideology. So there's this element of here, the highest level of love guy, we're stuck with him. He completely defines the whole relationship. completely. I love this and I'm into it. And of course, love God and Yiddishkeit and everything, but it's all him.
Even Avarabba?
We're talking Avara. We're talking Avara B'dafka. But the lowest level of Kabbalah's oil, it's clearly pointing to the master. He doesn't want to do this. So why every time you're doing it? Because I'm scared of him. Whereas the highest level of love is, what am I doing? Because I love. He's always going to say, he's always going to respond. Why are you doing this? Because I can stand it. It's beautiful. It's my whole life. I can't envision my life any other way. This is life of meaning, etc. And he's being Meisah Nefesh for it.
Can I ask you something? But if the ultimate,
just elaborate a little bit, make it clearer. So again, when probing the highest level of Ava guy, at the end of the day, it's always the self that's there, that's motivating it all. Whereas the low level of fear, he says, "Can you get him off my back? And I won't do this." Yeah, can you find me an exemption? You're looking for an exemption, and I'm not doing this. So why is he doing it? Because there's an order and that command. It's inescapable. So therein lies the Maamer. He's breaking himself. And he's breaking himself. There's no breaking yourself when you're motivated. It's beautiful. Now the Maamer, the Avodah is the bench. He's an Eved. You are motivated and you do love it all, and it is meaningful. And that is suffused with the bittul of the Eved Poshet, the Eved Maamer. That's the big Maamer. Yes, Rivka?
no, you actually explained it well, but ultimately learning Torah and doing mitzvahs is what is going to connect us and bring to Hashem and bring out, the light into the world, and you can love that. And that might be isn't that more endearing to Hashem than resistance or fear?
So each one has a Maamer. That's the Maamer of the child. But again, that level, the whole motivation is me, from beginning to end. The Eved makes room for the master, points to the master more transparently, because he doesn't want to do it. And let me give me an example. To illustrate this, and it'll make it clearer. Two ministers. We once gave this example. Two ministers of the king invited to your table. Now, one of them is this brilliant, devoted person to the welfare of the state and the king. His whole life is politics, but in a virtuous way. So when you meet this guy and talk to him, what are you impressed with him? That's what you're impressed with. Of course, he's serving the state and the king, but that's what you're taken with, and what he is expressing is himself. And then there's a minister who's an absolute idiot. Is a savant, right? Like what's he? How does he even get into the government? Because the king appointed him. His mind is elsewhere. It's an absolute. So you look at this guy and you can't be struck by like, what's he doing here? This is the king appointed him. He, because he has no Maamer at all, points to the king more than the minister who is the intellectual and devoted and brought up, and his whole life is dedicated to the welfare of the state. Again, so you look at the Eved, the simple Eved who hates what he's doing. He transparently points to there is a master. That's why I'm doing this. And you look at the guy's motivated. What he's seeing is a guy who's motivated. Of course, he's motivated to do what the master said. But that's not what's going on here. It's his motivation. The Maamer is both bench or Eved. Is that clearer?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's clear. It's just, it's something to meditate on, because it's like you get more inspired by seeing someone who loves what they're doing and is passionate.
And that's how it has to begin. The first parsha of the Shema, in terms of Avodah, is the first parsha. You have to enjoy this and love it and understand it and take ownership, etc. And then the answer, after all of that, comes the shleimus of Kabbalah's oil, suffusing. The second parsha of Krishma does not jettison the first parsha. Done with that, now you're just a simple Eved. It's again the child who is an Eved. It's the loving chassid, the devoted chassid, deeply immersed and who understands it all and is motivated, and his life couldn't be any other way by his own choice. Nonetheless, not nonetheless. And what is the whole yesod of his avodah? It's the master, the tainug order. Not that he gives as he said before. I give my pleasure, and I'm giving it l'chai elomim. It's everything I have is chai elomim to begin with.
If that's the case, well, like, why does the Maamer go back to the not to the love, especially since it connects the whole my love is that it's actually connected to your love. So you think the next step after the levels above would be your love.
Well, so what he's saying is that they are connected.
Yeah.
That's the point of the Maamer, that the lowest level of, and I'm trying to explain why now, that the lowest level of Kabbalah's oil is connected to Yirei Ilah. Why? Because it's not you. It's doing something that you don't want to do. If you get out of this, you get out of it. So you're negating self, even though it's a very coarse negation of self. That nekuda, that's the pin piercing, pischlik yechuda shel machat. That's connected to the highest levels of Yireh. In Yiddish, abin nish zich. It's just not you. That's a pure moment. Is it the shleimus? No, he's saying it's connected to the higher Yireh, which means it also will embrace the two levels of love as well. But the Rebbe is saying here, we go through ups and downs. We have moments of inspiration. We're holding by the first parsha of the Shema. But that can't define our avodah. It's got to be Kabbalah's oil, and we have to fall back on that. It's got to be the foundation at all times, because our love will fail us. It'll fail us. And it's certainly not the avodah that will deal with Amalek. Amalek cannot be vanquished with any love. Amalek is vanquished with Kabbalah's oil and bittul. Which one? B'shleimus, the Yireh Ilah. But even the lower level of Yireh, that is already dealing him a severe blow. In the words of the Maamer, just an answer to your question. It's the lowest level of Kabbalah's oil, the last hay, which is rooted in the first yud, the highest level of awe, which is true love infused, a child's awe. That's we're talking about the Eved Neman, the son, the child that does for the father's glory, not his own glory. That's the Yireh Ilah. But what's the gateway to that? The gateway to that is to do something which I do not want to do and resist and don't understand. It doesn't make sense. This is very subtle. It can be taken. He has all of the arguments to say that for the cause, I can't do this. I can't surrender this. For the cause. The way he understands the cause. So the Maamer saying is, the point which lets God in mamish is when you are breaking yourself. And then to bring that breaking oneself at the practical level where I'm resisting this, but I just break myself, to bring that to Yireh Ilah, where it's love suffused and it's the child that's doing so. That's the ultimate bittul. But the key to that is, here we face the crunch. Makes no sense to you, but that's what it is. And he accepts it. How does he know that's what it is? Because that's what Torah says. Whatever the means by which Torah communicates that. There's systems. And from that you come to the Ois Yud of Shem Havaya, from that bittul. Shalamayla filim hirishayna higher than the first hay, which is the great rapturous love. Ahaynu shavoida hi omla mitzad Kabbalah's oil. The end is it's Kabbalah's oil. Avlo b'shleimus b'chalakoiches, but it permeates all of him, all of his faculties. Alakoichatayno, his gishmak. He's all engaged. He's a fully resonant, full, rich person. But it's all what? It's all you. The foundation is the last hey, the Kabbalah Soil.
What was that? That at the end of his love, when he's talking about that, you do talk about Nachasurat and Tainug, but because the Abishur is Nachasurat and Tainug, that's
That's what he's talking about here. Yeah, he has Nachasoch and Tainug, and he has Gishmak. You know, friends, I keep on telling you, it would be so much easier if you saw Chassid like this. I have. Yeah, no, not that I'm a judge. Could be there are many, just you don't know. But Chassidim that we say, David Raskin comes to mind always to me. No, you heard David Raskin. That's a Cherato
It's my next door neighbor.
in Crown Heights. So David Raskin, actually they made the children, grandchildren, they made a little book, hasn't come out yet. Va'avdi David. I'm calling it Va'avdi David. Which never speaks about now. The Avodah of David is opposed to Shaul, coming in the next ois. Shaul halach acharei atam. David Raskin was such a yid. He's not the only one, but he stands out. The Rebbe said on David Raskin once, I heard, mine David, my David. I mean, that's absolutely no fazich, nothing. Not begashmis, not beruchnius, but a person with geishim and that Kabbalah's oil permeating every level of his resonant personality and loves and his understanding, etc. Okay, so